John Neely Kennedy had always been known for his sharp wit and down-to-earth wisdom, but no one could have predicted the extraordinary moment that would unfold one ordinary evening at a small-town restaurant. What started as a night meant for a quiet meal turned into a story that would ripple far beyond those four walls, leaving everyone both inside the restaurant and across the nation utterly stunned. It was late evening when Kennedy walked into the family-owned diner, a place filled with the aroma of fried chicken and cornbread. The restaurant was busy, laughter echoing through the room, waiters hustling between tables, and families sharing warm meals. Kennedy, though a U.S. senator, entered humbly and no entourage, no fanfare, just a man in his suit and tie, seeking a simple dinner after a long day of meetings. But as he approached the counter to request a table, something unexpected happened. The hostess, a young woman with uncertainty in her eyes, glanced at him, then whispered something to her manager. The manager, visibly tense, walked over and said firmly, "I'm sorry, Senator, but we can't serve you here tonight." A hush fell over the nearby tables, forks froze midair, conversations stopped, people turned their heads to witness the momentous, some shocked, some curious, some whispering in disbelief. To many, the idea of refusing a sitting senator seemed unthinkable. Kennedy, however, did not raise his voice. He did not argue or lash out. Instead, he tilted his head slightly, studied the man's face, and said calmly, "I see. May I ask why?" The manager hesitated, then muttered, "We broken bar. We just don't want any political drama here. People have strong opinions, and your presence might upset customers." The words cut through the room like a cold wind. Kennedy stood there, silent for a moment. He could have stormed out, slammed the door, or called the press to make headlines about the insult, but instead, he did something that no one expected. He smiled. With quiet dignity, he said, "Well, son, I didn't come here to make a scene. I just wanted supper, same as anybody else. But since I'm not welcome at a table, how about these? Let me buy dinner for every single person in this restaurant tonight." Gasps erupted. The manager blinked in disbelief, unsure he had heard correctly. A family of four at the corner table looked at each other wide-eyed. The waitress standing near the counter nearly dropped her notepad. Kennedy reached into his pocket, pulled out his credit card, and handed it to the young hostess. "Charge it all to me," he said warmly. "Everybody eats tonight. Nobody walks out hungry." The atmosphere shifted instantly. People who had moments ago been staring at him with suspicion now looked at him with awe. The room filled with whispers of admiration. Children smiled, parents nodded, and strangers exchanged glances that carried the same thought. This was not the reaction they had expected. The manager stood frozen, his face flushing with guilt. "Senator, a broken barrier," Kennedy interrupted gently. "Don't worry about it, son. We all make mistakes. What matters most is how we learn from them." And then, instead of leaving, Kennedy walked table to table, shaking hands, asking about people's families, their jobs, their lives. He listened intently to an elderly woman who talked about her late husband. He knelt to speak eye to eye with a young boy who dreamed of becoming a firefighter. He laughed with the truck driver about the long hours on the road. In that moment, Kennedy wasn't the senator. He wasn't a politician. He was just a man who cared enough to listen and to turn humiliation into grace. By the end of the night, the same manager who had turned him away stood with tears in his eyes. "Senator, I'm sorry for how I treated you. I misjudged you." Kennedy placed a hand on his shoulder and said softly, "The good Lord gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, so we can listen twice as much as we talk. Don't judge too quick. People surprise you." Word of the event spread like wildfire. Social media lit up with stories from the diners who had been there, sharing photos and heartfelt testimonies. News outlets picked it up. What began as an embarrassing refusal became a viral story of humility, forgiveness, and unexpected generosity. The inspiring message that lingered was simple: kindness doesn't need applause, and dignity isn't proven in grand speech as it's shown in quiet moments when you choose compassion over anger. That night, John Neely Kennedy didn't just buy dinner, he reminded a room full of ordinary people and eventually an entire nation that character isn't about the power you hold, but the grace you give when the world least expects it. And for everyone who heard the story, it was a moment they would never forget.